Hi, my name is David Fleming from Disciples Ignited, and we are studying Gems in John, devotional thoughts throughout the Gospel of John. And we have recently been studying in John chapter 18, where Jesus is entering into his time of severe testing and suffering, which is going to lead him to the cross. But this was not just a time of suffering for Jesus. It was also a time of testing for his disciples. Let's look at Peter. Peter was with Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane when Judas brought the mobs in with the soldiers with their weapons. They were going to arrest Jesus. And what does Peter do? He takes a sword and he begins to fight for Jesus. He was even willing to give his life for Jesus. But yet that was not the end of Peter's testing. Today we're going to be reading in John chapter 18, verses 15 through 18. Simon Peter and another disciple were following Jesus. Because this disciple, speaking of John, was known to the high priest, he went with Jesus into the high priest's courtyard, but Peter had to wait outside at the door. The other disciple, who was known to the high priest, came back, spoke to the servant girl on duty there, and brought Peter in. Starting with verse 17, we read, "You aren't one of the man's disciples too, are you?" she asked Peter. Peter replied, "I am not." Now this is coming from a man that has already defended Jesus with a sword. He was even willing to die for Jesus if it led up to that. And here he is. Someone asked him, "Are you one of this man's disciples?" And Peter says, "I am not." Before we start judging Peter too harshly, every one of us are going to have our time of testing. Jesus has been teaching his disciples for 3.5 years. He has been leading them up to this point to where they're going to have to stand up with him. He said, "If you deny me before man, I will deny you before my Father." So it's not that they haven't been prepared. And Peter now has the opportunity to stand with Jesus. Yes, there is coming a time when every follower of Jesus is going to have to take their stand and say, "Yes, I am one of his disciples." There's no skirting the issue. There's no way of getting around it. Make a bold statement. Make a bold stand for Jesus. Yes, I am one of his disciples. And if you fail, as Peter did, then just realize that Jesus, who offered Peter a time of repentance and brought Peter back into fellowship, he'll do the same for you. But that's no excuse. Be strong and take your stand. As a follower of Jesus, say, absolutely, I am one of the disciples of Jesus. And I promise you, as you do that, the Lord is going to use your testimony. He is going to use you to lead other people to Jesus. This is exactly what the world needs. They need to see a real disciple of Jesus, somebody that they can look to as someone that is the real deal. Not somebody that just talks the talk, but somebody that walks the walk. Somebody that is a true, living disciple of Jesus and is willing to stand up for it, even in the face of persecution. These are exciting times that we are living in, but it calls for a bold witness for Jesus. May that be you and me. And join with me tomorrow as we study another gem in the Gospel of John. See you then.